Hello all, this is Ramesh. Today we are going to see about testing and assessment and its introduction. Psychological assessment is a structured and a systematic process in which a psychologist helps to understand a person's behavior, thoughts, emotions, ability, IQ and EQ, and so on. It is not just based upon a guessing or a person's opinion. It is a scientific way to understand a person's. It means it combines many sources of information to understand a person properly. So assessment is not just about giving a test, it is to understand a person's whole person as a thoroughly. Here structure means it follows proper step, it uses standardized tools, it follows scientific rules and regulations to complete an assessment. And a systematic means information is collected in an organized way, not randomly on or emotionally. Assessment does not depend upon a test score. It combines test result, interview method, observational method, and also case study. The goal is to get a complete psychological picture of an individual before making a decision. Assessment focus on three main purposes: describing a behavior and predicting a behavior and explaining a behavior. Describing a behavior, what does it mean? This means clearly identifying a person's behaviors, thinking, and feeling, and predicting a behavior. For example, predicting an individual's academic performance, work adjustments, and emotional stability, and explaining a behavior. Understand a person's why behaving in a certain way. Assessment also looks at the persons within their environment, like family, schools, culture, work environment, and its day-to-day life activities. It aims to produce an insight about a purpose and a diagnosis plan, and it also helps to get a clear view about an intervention what we are going to give to the person. Many students get confused assessment and testing as a similar one, but it is different. Testing, it measures a specific trait ability of a person like in a standardized way. For example, IQ test, personality test, emotional intelligence test. In the other hand, assessment is broad. It uses test and plus with other methods like interview, case study, observational method. It focuses on why this result came, not just about the score. Testing only focus on the score, numerical values, but assessment required interpretation, reasoning, and a professional judgment. Why this behavior is happening, why people act in a different way, why assessment is broader than a testing. Assessment is broader because it uses multi-methods approach. It includes clinical interview, behavioral observation, developmental theories, and using multi-method to help to get a cross-checking and accuracy about the scores and interpretations. This ensures that the conclusion is meaningful, content-based, not misleading. So assessment avoid making a decision based upon a single test scores. Now let's look into the tools we used in assessment. Test, psychological tests. It is a quantitative methods. It indicates the person's intelligence, personality, aptitude, emotional intelligence, and so on. Interview. It reveals the person's experience, emotions, relevant to the backgrounds and other details. Observation method allows examiner to understand the real life behavior patterns, posture, gesture, and non-verbal cues that the examiner shows during this interview. Case history, it provides information about the person's past histories, developmental issues, health issues, and social life. Portfolio, it is mostly used in academic and in work life settings. Collateral informations, this is from teachers, parents, friends, co-workers to get a accurate and clarity about a person's overall lifestyle and his day-to-day activities, how we behave in a certain way, like that. Nature of a psychological assessment. Psychological assessment is a scientific activity based on research, purpose-driven, and it is meaningful. Uh, Assessors change the method according to the client's need, settings, and the purpose of the assessment. Assessment as a problem-solving process. Assessment starts with the referral questions. For example, why the student is performing poorly, why the employee is stressed out. The data is collected to test the different hypotheses. And finally, the assessments end with an integrated findings, practical recommendations, and the results. So assessment is a problem solving process, not just it is about testing something. Assessment across settings. Assessment in clinical setting. It helps to identify disorders, symptoms, and treatments and diagnosis plan. It helps to understand different kind of disorder that a person have and its symptoms, why he behave in a certain way. In educational setting, it helps to understand the student's progress, if the student's having some kind of learning disabilities, on what are the difficulties he is facing in an academic settings, and its ability likelihood, and also it is helpful for the placement also. Organization setting, it helps to support hiring for an interview methods, identifying the different type of talents, what the company actually needs from the candidates, and it also helps to understand the performance of the employee, like performance appraisal and performance evaluation. That's all for today's class. Today we seen about what is assessment, how assessment used in different settings, and the types of assessment that a psychologist used in his assessment process. And tomorrow's class we are going to see about the role of assessor in an assessment, and ethics in assessment, and principles in assessments. Thank you all.